Please remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Father, we are grateful for the opportunity that we have to meet together as a city council and with the fine residents of the city. We thank you for the privilege it is to call Brooklyn home and the chance that we have to come together for the betterment of all the people here in the city. Father, as we push closer to another Resurrection Day where we celebrate your resurrection and victory over the grave, we thank you for the salvation that you bring. We thank you for the wonderful faith that many here in Brooklyn share. And Father, I pray that you'll please bless our meeting tonight. We pray for our mayor and the decisions that she makes along with her administration, as well as us council members, that we will put you first in our minds as we make decisions. Father, we do pray for our city, we pray for our state, and for our nation. Lord, help everything that's said and done at this meeting would bring honor and glory to you. We pray these things in your name. Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. We do have the approval of minutes for the meeting dated March 25th, 2019. Are there any comments or questions?
Motion to approve. Second.
To approve the minutes, Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Council meeting did start about 6:45 this evening. We did vote to suspend the rules to begin a little bit early, and we immediately went into executive session to discuss the sale of public property, and so that's why the beginning time at 7 o'clock is a little bit different this evening. At this time, we'll have the public session. If anyone in the audience has anything to say for the good and welfare of the city of Brooklyn, please step forward, state your name and address, and you'll be recognized. Please remember to keep your comments to 5 minutes or fewer.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John Wagner, and I'm representing the Census Department tonight. As you all know, it's that time again. The 2020 census is upon us, and my job is just to remind everybody that it's happening, and I am here to ask your support in our recruitment effort. I see a lot of familiar faces, and some of you folks have already helped me, and I will be bugging you for about the next 15 months to constantly remind our patrons and our residents that it's an extremely important thing. So that's really all I have to say. We had a pretty good start, but I want to thank you and expect an email each and every one of you to remind you of that fact. And I want to thank Mary Jo particularly. She's been helping me get into the bulletin that's coming out quarterly. And that's really all I have to say. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Hi there. My name is Pam Burchio. I live at 4734 Elizabeth Lane, and I'm here on behalf of Issue 1 Brooklyn City Schools. I am one of the co-chairs for the levy that is on May 7th. There's a few things that I want to say about the levy, just so that everyone is informed, and that mostly so that people are not misinformed. It is a 10-year emergency operating levy that will generate $2.25 million per year. Why are we asking for this? Because the Brooklyn schools will lose $14 million over 12 years because of the loss of the tangible personal property tax the school received from local businesses and industry. This tax is not coming back. The Brooklyn City Schools are greatly underfunded by the state of Ohio by the funding formula because of its capped status. The formula indicates Brooklyn City Schools should receive $2.9 million, and Brooklyn City Schools only receives $1.2 million. That computes to $900 per student, which is below the per pupil that non-public schools receive. The May levy would avoid Brooklyn City Schools from running out of its cash revenues in the fiscal year of 2021. The district will, what happens if it doesn't pass? The district will need to cut over $500,000 from next year's budget. That will come from people and programs, specifically 4 areas, and these are areas that I received from the superintendent himself. Administrative staff, teaching staff, classified and support staff, and extracurricular athletic supplemental contracts. Music, band, sports, teachers, education, and continuing to improve everything that we've been improving in our schools over the last few years, especially under the guidance of Dr. Glykoff. And what about the new school funding money? That's a big question that everyone has out there, because Cup Patterson came up with this new plan that's going to save us. We look great in that plan. The problem is, it's simply a proposal at this time. It is yet to be seen if it will find its way into the state budget, which will be finalized after the levy. This proposed money would still not make up for the loss of the tangible personal property tax. For those of you that have any questions or concerns, April 10th of this week at 6:30 at the fire station in the community room, we have a finance forum. We will have the treasurer of our schools, and we will have Dr. Glykoff will be there. They are there to present what's going on with the monies, and they will also answer any questions that anyone has. If they don't know the answer, they will get back to you. If you have a question and you cannot make the meeting, contact them. They will answer anything that you want to know about. So please attempt to make that meeting. That's April 10th at 6:30 at the fire station community room. And also remember to vote for issue 1 on May 7th. Thank you. Also, I'm in charge of signs, so if anyone's interested in a levy sign, just message me and I'll get one right out to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Hello, Victor Ardito, 7439 Outlook Avenue. I'd like to say I support the school system also, and I was talking to some friends over the weekend. Everyone, please keep in mind, when they built the new section of the school, there was no money. That was all for the new school section. The money for the old section of the school, the new school had nothing to do with that. So they do need money to keep the old section going, because that is probably, I'm just guessing, 50 years old or so. Thank you very much.
Don Stopa, 4190 Ivywood Drive. My wife and I are 48-year residents and homeowners in the city of Brooklyn. During that time, we have supported the various school fund issues, but it's becoming increasingly difficult to do so. Having only recently passed a large combined bond and operating levy, and just last year the school board asked us to vote for a renewal to the permanent improvement levy, they cited the need to re-roof the school. Just maybe we would have had the money for it had we not spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on the seldom used football stadium. Now we're currently asked to support a 6.9 mil operating levy to compensate for the lost revenue from the state. The school board is saying they're going to lose 14 plus millions of dollars over the next 10 years, and that the 6.9 mil levy would cover this. Yes, but why would they need an additional $8 million that this levy would project to generate? What else do they want to spend it on? Also, recently in the PD, it showed that the Brooklyn schools are projected to receive an increase in funding of approximately $600 more per pupil for the 2019 and 2020 school year. And then an additional increase of another $600 per pupil for the 2020 and 2021 school year. How is the school board going to account for this? With all this extra funding they'll be getting, just maybe they'll end up putting a dome on our seldom used football stadium. It sure seems as though the school board is not accountable for anyone, to anyone. If they have $1, they'll spend $1.05.
Thank you, John. Anyone else have anything to say for the good and welfare of the city of Brooklyn? Okay, we'll now move on with reports of committees, commissions, and boards. The Finance Committee meeting did take place this evening at 6:15 in the city conference room. We went over the following items. Ordinance 2019-13, providing for the issuance and sale of not to exceed $1.42 million of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds, and this is to pay for the reconstruction of Rodone Road and Rodone Alley. And the plan is again to pay down 20% of this, just like we did last year. And so that's $284,000 that we'll be paying down. The rest of it will be rolled over into a bond anticipation note for another year. And the committee did recommend that council adopt this evening. Then ordinance 2019-14 is a sister ordinance to that, and that provides for the issuance and sale of a not to exceed $2.1 million in notes. And this is for the American Road reconstruction project that will be taking place this summer. And that project will be financed through TIF financing that we've discussed several times in meetings prior to it. Then 2019-17, or excuse me, yes, 2019-17, and this is an ordinance dealing with a mobile phone telephone while operating a motor vehicle, and this is simply adding texting. It's a language clarification in that ordinance, and that is on first reading this evening. And then ordinance 2019-16, amending section 351.20 is on second reading. Waivers, this is in regards to the parking ticket amounts. Currently, or the new ordinance will be $25 for prohibited parking for fines within 10 days, pay within 10 days, $75 between 10 and past 30. Fire lane will be 50 and 100, handicap will be 250 and 350. And then at the end of the finance meeting, we discussed ordinance 2019-18, and this is in regards to the Civil Service Commission. Currently, the part-time employees at the rec center have civil service protection. And this ordinance, if adopted, would propose to the Civil Service Commission to ratify that part-time employees of the Recreation Center would no longer receive that civil service protection. The Civil Service Commission does provide a very valuable service in our republic, but really, for at least in my opinion, it really doesn't apply to this type of labor. It makes an undue burden on the administration when trying to hire and possibly fire part-time employees at the Recreation Center. And that is all we had for the finance meeting. Mr. Raguse will give a couple more updates when he speaks here shortly. We do meet typically at 6:30 p.m. in the City Hall conference room prior to our council meetings, and all are welcome to attend. With that, we'll move on to Recreation Board. Councilman Tansky.
Thank you. Summer youth baseball and softball registration will run through May 6th. Resident rates are $55, non-resident rates are $75. 3 and 4-year-olds are $50, school rate $65. Brooklyn's Learn to Swim registration begins May 1st. First session will run from June 10th through July 10th. With classes held on Monday and Wednesday mornings and evenings. Second session will run from July 15th through August 14th, with classes held on Monday and Wednesday mornings and evenings, and Tuesday and Thursday evenings. Resident rate $40, non-resident rate $55, partnership $47.50. There will also be a swim team for ages 6 and up, must be able to swim one length of the pole. Beginning May 29th through July 27th, classes will be held on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7 to 8 p.m. and on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday mornings starting June 10th from 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. Resident rate $90, non-resident $115, partnership $102.50. Summer camp is a 6-week program which runs from June 10th through July 19th, 8 a.m. to 2:45 p.m. daily for resident ages 5 through 12 who reside in Brooklyn, attend a Brooklyn school, or has a parent working in Brooklyn. Registration begins May 1st, resident rate $275, school group, corporate, partnership $345. Fee does not include field trips. Spring egg hunt will be held on Saturday, April 13th at 11 a.m. with registration beginning at 10:30 at the Senior Center for resident children 6 and under. Bring a basket to collect eggs. There will be an ice show on April 25th and 26th at 7 p.m. Adults $10, students and seniors $6. For info, call the Brooklyn Rec Center at 216-351-5334. To register online, go to www.activityreg.com. The next Recreation Board meeting will be held on April 15th in the Rec Center meeting room at 7 p.m. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Chinsky. Next up is the Domestic Abuse Commission, Councilwoman Ryan Chucky.
Thank you, President Van Kirk. The Domestic Abuse Commission had a guest speaker at our last meeting on March 26th. Judge Ashley Kilbane came and spoke to the group about why our work is so important, examples of what she's seen in regards to child abuse and domestic abuse through her line of work, and even listened to what our commission has accomplished and hopes to do over the next year. I once again want to thank Judge Kilbane for taking the time to come speak with us, and that ends my report.
Thank you. The Public Safety and Environmental Committee will have a meeting immediately following tonight's council meeting. We'll be discussing a report that was issued by the Cuyahoga County Board of Health regarding health trends in the city of Brooklyn. We'll have a guest with us tonight, Terry Allen from the Board of Health, and he'll be there to join the discussion, also answer any questions that we have. Because of this meeting is why we had the executive session at the beginning of our council meeting this evening, so we will not have to make our guest wait any longer. Next up is the legislative update. Councilwoman Belvier.
Thank you, Mr. Van Kirk. Well, the Ohio Transportation Bill was finally signed this past week by Governor DeWine. The main factor of this bill is the raising of the gasoline tax in the state of Ohio. The governor had requested an 18-cent raise per gallon, going from the current gas tax of 28 cents, which has existed since 2005, to 46 cents. After going back and forth in the Ohio House and Senate, the governor signed the bill authorizing a 10.5-cent hike in our gasoline tax. So Ohio's gasoline tax will go from 28 cents a gallon to 38.5 cents, a 37.5% raise. To put it another way, if you are paying $2.50 a gallon, 38.5 cents goes to Ohio tax, 18.4 cents goes to the federal government, and $1.93 goes for the gas itself. That means that almost 23% of the money you pay at the pump goes to taxes. Even though the tax is being raised 37.5%, it is far short of the amount the governor said he needed for a stable outlook on Ohio's transportation needs over the next 10 years. Now the talk is that the New Deal will solve things for just 4 to 6 years. In other words, the decision to increase Ohio's gas tax for the first time since 2005 is viewed as a short-term fix. We should be looking at a further increase in the not-too-distant future. The raise in tax on diesel fuel was even more pronounced, not the 10.5-cent increase for gasoline, but a 19-cent increase on diesel. That is an increase in state tax of over 40% on diesel fuel. There are other aspects to the transportation bill. One of the interests is that the front license plates will no longer be required after July 1st of 2020. People can still request a front plate if they wish, but I really don't know who would do that. Police organizations, as our Chief Melky had mentioned, are opposed to eliminating the requirement of a front plate, saying it would increase, in many cases, make it harder for police to properly do their job. The governor was not a fan of this either, but he let it stand. So starting in July of next year, no more front plates unless you request it. Thank you, and that completes my report.
Thank you. Next up is Board of Zoning Appeals, Commissioner Colstar.
Thank you, Mr. Van Kirk. The Board of Zoning Appeals will be meeting Thursday, April 18th, 6 p.m. here in the Brooklyn City Hall Conference Room. And they're going to be hearing 3 variance requests from Adam Signs. First is for 108 square foot variance, the maximum area for a new freestanding sign for Bidoff Plaza on the existing foundation at 7910 Bidoff Avenue. The second one is a 4-foot height variance for the same sign. And the third request is a 14-foot variance for the distance required from the right-of-way. Meeting is open to the public, and that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Colsar. The Planning Commission did meet this past Thursday, April 4th, to discuss the following items. A request from EchoSite for a new cell tower at 8720 Brook Park Road. A request from Boxes Builders for a preliminary site plan approval for a self-storage facility at 11400 Brook Park Road. A request from Adam Signs for a new freestanding sign for the plaza on the existing foundation at 6910 Bidoff. Then a request from Robert Corna for Prime Properties for a preliminary site plan and approval for a gas station at 3580 Ridge Road. And at the zoning of the three variances that Mr. Colsar just mentioned have to do with that Bidoff sign. And so all of these items were approved by the commission. Of course, that is contingent upon getting the approval from the variances from the zoning board. And then the gas station that we're talking about on Ridge Road is right across the street from the Dave's Supermarket up towards Denison. There's already a gas station there now. And so the plan is to basically redo that entire area. And so we did see some conceptual designs, and it should be very nice once it's finished. And again, the commission did give approval for that. I will now move, all of these requests again were approved. And our next meeting will take place on Thursday, May the 2nd at 6:30 p.m. All are welcome to attend. Next up is our school board liaison, Councilman Ryan Shockey.
Thank you. The school board is meeting on Tuesday, April 16th at 6 p.m. at the School Media Center. Also, as Pam had mentioned, they are holding their final information session regarding the levy this week on April 10th at 6:30 at the Fire Station Community Room. That ends my report.
Thank you. We'll now move on with reports of council. Begin this evening with Mrs. Belbier.
Thank you, Mr. Van Kirk. Well, with spring being in full swing now, I'd just like to mention a few things. One is I hope everyone's doing their spring cleaning, but something very nice here in our city that I, in the past years, have forgotten to take advantage of, and I don't know how, but this year I hope I can, is our shredder. The shredder is coming here to our Brooklyn Rec Center on April 20th from 10 to 1. And if you have all those things in your old bedrooms or under the bed or whatever, please bring them down. You do have to show proof of residency. It's the old white papers, financial and legal documents, tax and medical records, receipts. And I find this kind of interesting are the greeting cards, because I've always saved my greeting cards. I don't have the heart to throw them out. And also in conjunction with that, the service garage is accepting, and I'm sure Mr. Verb is very happy about this, all the old paints and things that people can't concrete and things like that people are going to be getting rid of. Light bulbs, you can drop those off and they're going to have the fellas there help you take it out and dispose of it. So proof of residency is also required there. I'd like to thank, I think I missed your name, I hope, Pam, am I correct? Yes. I thank you for your passion, and it's just been amazing to see all these parents that have come up and people we've talked to about this levy. I think of all the years I've lived here, 31 years, I'm most concerned about this levy for some reason. I'm really worried about it. And I do hope it passes. We have so much talent in our city. The kids are just amazing. You know, and you know, I always thought that when you kept your children in, and you kept them busy in sports, and you kept them busy in drama, music, they were better students, and overall they got a well-rounded education. So, Pam, if you'd like, I live at 4576 East Lane Drive. That's by the Horseshoe. It's North Lane, South Lane, East Lane. I'm the only house with a white picket fence, so you could put a sign there. Also, I'd like to spotlight one of our own, our Brooklyn own. His name is Mr. Bill Marzola. There was a beautiful article written in yesterday's Plain Dealer in the Metro section. If you get a chance and you still have the paper, bring it out and read it. He is 95 years old. He is a veteran of both the Korean War and World War II. And they spotlighted him also on Cleveland.com. But it was wonderful just to hear him talk about that. A veteran, usually there's a lot of the old-time World War II veterans are kind of gone. So if you get a chance, read that about them. And some of the things he said that kind of stuck to my mind was that he mentioned that the Korean War was a forgotten war, as was the Vietnam War. And he said there was no fanfare when he came home. He did 2 tours of duty, Vietnam, Korean War and World War II. But the Korean War, like he said, was the forgotten war. And when he came home, there was no fanfare, there were no parties, there were no celebrations, similar to that of the Vietnam War. And So I would like to say to him, thank you, God bless you, thank you for your service, and welcome home, Mr. Marzola. And lastly, with Easter just right around the corner, we're into Lent. Lent's almost over. There are many churches still having their fish fries and would love your support. But we're getting into our Easter season, and there's so many wonderful churches here that have sunrise services, that have services, period. And if you haven't been to service in a while, it's okay, come on back. There's a reason, whatever reason it may be, put it aside. And sometimes with the springtime, all things now are made new again. So take advantage of all our wonderful services in our city, and happy Easter to all our wonderful residents. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Mr. Chesky. Thank you. Good evening. Taste of Brooklyn was held this past Saturday at La Villa Banquet Center. This popular event, sponsored by the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, included many food vendors from our community, along with the Brooklyn High School Jazz Band, who provided the entertainment. There was plenty of delicious food and great music that made the night a huge success. I would like to thank all the food vendors for their participation. I would also like to thank the residents, their families, friends who came out to this wonderful event. We'd like to wish everyone a very happy Easter on Sunday, the 21st. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Polinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Van Kirk. Well, I have to say the same thing Kevin did. The Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce again did a fantastic job of presenting a Taste of Brooklyn at Lavelle Conference and Banquet Center. It was much larger than the previous facility, but it was still overflowing with guests. The dedication of local restaurants, volunteers, and let's not forget Mr. Sullivan and the Brooklyn High School Jazz Band made for an enjoyable evening. To every resident that attended, thank you. The evening would not have been a success without you. On Wednesday, April 17th at 6 p.m., Heritage Home will hold an information session at the Brooklyn Senior Center. The program is administered by the Cleveland Restoration Society. If your home is 50 years old or older, you have access to free technical assistance and low-interest financing to cover projects. One more plug for Laurel Garden Club, tomorrow evening, April 9th at 7 p.m. in the Fire Station Community Room. We will present Mr. David Slauson, world-renowned designer of Japanese gardens. The half-hour presentation will inspire you more than a trip to the annual Home and Garden Show, and it's free. One of his Japanese gardens may be viewed at the Botanical Gardens. He designed it in the late 1970s. The Rec Center will hold a one-week free admission to every program that they have starting tonight and going through the 13th of April. So if you've never been there, now's your chance. That ends my report.
Thank you, Ms. Polinsky. Next up, Mrs. May Bradshaw.
Thank you. It's primary election time. Important dates regarding the May 8th primary include: tomorrow is the last day to update your voter registration to vote in the May primary. If you moved or got married and changed your name, please update this information by tomorrow. I believe you can do it online at the County Board of Elections website. Wednesday, April 10th, so this Wednesday, starts absentee and voting by mail. The last day to apply for an absentee ballot is May 5th. This election is very important for Brooklyn, as issue 1, which has been talked multiple times here tonight, will be on the ballot. The Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District had a reminder to resist cleaning up your gardens until temperatures are constantly above 50 degrees. Many butterflies, bees, and other pollinators are currently overwintering in the dead leaves and hollowed out stems of last year's plants. So while the weather feels like spring, resist cleaning up your plants for a few more weeks. And finally, I want to mention one more time as to why I'm asking my fellow councilpersons to support Ordinance 2019-7, which is up for vote tonight. Ohio is only one of 13 states that does not have legislation similar to this on a state level. I believe it's important for our residents to do what the state has failed to do. According to statistics put together by the Ohio Domestic Violence Network in 2017, which is the last year available, Brooklyn police had 40 calls related to domestic abuse. Domestic abuse does, unfortunately, happen in our city, and this legislation could help someone leave their abusive spouse. So once again, I'm asking my fellow council members to vote yes on ordinance 2019-7 tonight. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Mr. Selfridge.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone that attended the Taste of Brooklyn this past Saturday. As Kevin and Barb mentioned, it was a great success. Even the better part of it is the proceeds actually go to scholarships to students, so there's a win-win for everybody. ODOT sent out an email about National Work Zone Awareness Week. Even though it's primarily for them for the highways, it applies to us in the city with our crews working on the streets, our crews, the outside contractors, kind of plan ahead for delays, slow down when you're going by them. If you can, move over a lane, try to keep them in your thoughts, and just avoid distractions when you're going by them. On Wednesday, April 17th, from 5 to 9 p.m., the Brooklyn High School Post-Prom Committee is having a fundraiser at B-Dubs, BW3, at 5020 Tiedemann. 20% of your check will be donated to the cause. You need to have a flyer from the Post-Prom Committee to get the 20% of your bill donated. On issue 1, please vote for it if you can. I do understand some households this might not be a financial option. Money is tight, but if you can, please do so. If you have questions, as was mentioned before, please talk to Dr. Glykoff, or the school treasurer, for answers. Do not just rely on the expertise of social media. It's not always the best answer. Get involved. On Tuesday, April 23rd, a good thing that's going to be happening is there's going to be another giveaway of fresh produce in the back parking lot from 4 to 7. The first event was well attended, so those that meet the criteria and the need, please do stop by and have a happy Easter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pucci.
Thank you. Good evening. I would like to thank everyone who spoke during the public comment period. There was a brief Safe Routes to School meeting last Wednesday at 10 a.m. at the elementary school. We had a teleconference with our rep from ODOT to discuss the process for finalizing and the school's invoicing ODOT for the funds that have been expended for the previous non-infrastructure grant, and also the process for the new grant, which needs to have the scope be finalized. We also inquired as to the next steps for the infrastructure grant, which the city will be administering, and ODOT will be reaching out to Mr. Selchertz and myself with that information. Mrs. Balbier already mentioned the very nice article that was in the newspaper yesterday about Mr. Marzola, highlighting his service in the 2 wars. And I also would encourage people to take the time to read these special articles which share the firsthand experience of the members of our greatest generation, which unfortunately are dying off. Mr. Marzola also served our city as our electrical inspector for many years. Regarding the school levy issue 1, Ms. Ryan Shockey already mentioned that early voting does begin tomorrow. Vote by mail applications can be obtained either at City Hall, the Senior Center, or the library. Just to echo what others have said, please get the information you need to make an informed decision. I am supporting issue 1. A community cannot be strong and vibrant without strong and vibrant schools. This morning there was an article about Brooklyn City Schools being selected a Project Lead the Way Distinguished District. And this recognizes our school system for the STEM program they have for our 7th and 8th graders. There are a lot of wonderful things going on in our schools with our students. And just a correction, election day is Tuesday, May 7th, not May 8th, Tuesday, May 7th. And I too would like to wish everyone a happy and blessed Easter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pucci. Pretty much everything I was going to say has been covered tonight. I do want to thank those that came up, especially I want to echo what Mr. Wagner said regarding the census. It is important that you return those forms that are turned in. It is good to be counted, all right, for the census. That's how the electoral votes are divided up. Number of representatives that we have in the state of Ohio is predicated directly on that census information. So please make sure that you return that. As far as issue 1 goes, I'll echo what Mrs. Pucci just said and what Mr. Selhard said as well. Please make sure that you are amply informed on the issue itself. Do not go to social media. Anyone can say anything they want on social media, and so it's not exactly a reliable source of information. There have been several meetings that have already been held with the school. There'll be another one that Mrs. Ryan Shockey mentioned a moment ago, so please make sure that you are informed. It does look like the state finally looks like they're going to take up the topic at least. That won't take place until after the levy, but it does look like if things go through that Brooklyn will at least be getting some more funds from the state. It's much needed, and Dr. Glykoff I think would echo that, and so that is at least some good news on that end. And also do want to wish everyone a happy Easter, and as Mrs. Belbier said, I would strongly encourage you to attend a church of your faith to celebrate the resurrection. With that, we'll move on to the mayor.
Thank you, Council President Van Kirk. This upcoming Thursday, the 11th, the Chamber will be hosting the Cuyahoga County Planning Commission to discuss the master plan with businesses in our community. They sent out a survey, electronic survey to the businesses in our community, seeking their feedback about helping with the master plan process. So if you'd like to participate in that luncheon, it's on noon on Thursday. The Board of Health sent out their annual report for Brooklyn. As most of you know, we pay an annual fee for this service, and this will be provided on the website. I already sent it out to City Council, and my assistant's putting on the website. As Mr. Van Kirk already said, the Board of Health will be joining us right after this meeting to discuss various topics that had come up through the master plan process and the annual report. Taxes are due on April 15th. If you need any help with your RETA taxes, our city still assists residents with these taxes. You could come up here at any time and somebody in our finance team will help you with those taxes. So if you're having difficulties with the online website through RETA, please don't hesitate to pop up here. We'll help you get through that. People have already mentioned Taste of Brooklyn this past Saturday. It was a terrific event. One thing that wasn't mentioned, if there wasn't students playing in the terrific jazz band, there was students cleaning off the tables. I mean, you put down an empty cup or empty plate, it was off there in a second. So they had students helping in every facet, and I received an email from the board. I think they raised way more money than they did last year, so this is terrific news, as all this money is going towards scholarships for our students in the city of Brooklyn. This upcoming Saturday is our annual Easter egg hunt at the Senior Center. Registration begins at 10:30 and the hunt begins at 11. This is for Brooklyn residents, students, kids age 6 and under. So come on out. It is one of the best events in Brooklyn in my view, and the kids love it. And then the last thing I have on my topic to talk about is April 14th through 20th is Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Each mayor from the Parma Regional Dispatch sent proclamations to the regional dispatchers through Parma for this week, and some interesting facts is, as most of you already know, public safety dispatchers are the first and most critical contact citizens we have with all emergency services, and they are also the critical link between police officers, firefighters, and citizens in their service. So thank you to all dispatchers. It is definitely a job that I could not handle. I think back to those times where the Cracker Barrel incident happened here in the city of Brooklyn, and we were lucky enough to have a dispatcher coming on duty at the same time. We only had one dispatcher working, and if we didn't have that happening, I think that Brooklyn would have been just in disarray. And I don't know about many of you, I could not handle the stress of that situation. So dispatchers definitely have a unique and terrific job, and I thank them for all of their service. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll now move on with director's reports. We'll begin this evening with our Finance Director, Mr. Ruse.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? Mic's working tonight. Just to give you a couple updates, our 2018 financial audit is progressing well. We expect completion within 3 months in June, as is normal. We're also looking ahead to our fall budget work sessions. Our capital budget work session is going to be scheduled on October 7th, and our general fund on November 18th. So those are our 2 scheduled budget work sessions in the fall. And also a reminder, we have our spring work session on June 3rd. So if you want any items on the agenda, please let me know. That concludes my report for tonight.
Thanks, sir. Next up is our building commissioner, Mr. Colsar.
Thank you. There's going to be a couple of informational sessions on homeowner assistance programs. The first one's coming on April 10th, 6:30 here at right here, City Hall Council Chambers, and the next one will be Wednesday, the 17th at 6 o'clock at the Senior Center. Don Neal from the Building Department will be talking about all the available programs there are for the homeowners to get repairs or projects done to their home, and along with the newest grant that we have in collaboration with the county right now on exterior home repair maintenance. And with that, applications are now being accepted, and something as little as landscaping, having your flower beds turned over, trimmed, bushes trimmed, something like that, can all be taken advantage of with that program. So please attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Colsar. We'll now move on with legislation for this evening. The first item up is ordinance 2019-7, establishing Chapter 746 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Brooklyn to create housing protections for victims of domestic violence and affected landlords. Are there any comments or questions?
Move to adopt.
Second.
To adopt, Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Ordinance 2019-13, providing for the issuance and sale of not to exceed $1,420,000 of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds to pay costs of reconstructing road-owned road and road-owned alley and declaring an emergency. Any comments or questions regarding this ordinance?
Motion to approve.
Second?
To adopt, Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Ordinance 2019-14, providing for the issuance and sale of not to exceed $2,100,000 of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds to pay costs of extending American Road by constructing, grading, draining, paving, constructing curbs, gutters, and driveway aprons, installing storm sewers, and making other improvements as designed in the plans approved or to be approved by council. Are there any comments or questions? Make a motion that we adopt.
Second.
To adopt, Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Ordinance 2019-16 is on second reading, but the administration is requesting that we pass by suspension of the rules. This is amending section 351.20 waivers of the codified ordinance of the City of Brooklyn, and this has to do with upgrading or increasing our parking violations as stated in the Finance Committee report. Are there any comments or questions? All right, introduced by all, suspend the rules.
Second.
To suspend the rules, Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
To adopt, Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
The following two ordinances are on first reading. Ordinance 2019-17, amending section 331.45, use of mobile telephones while operating a motor vehicle of the codified ordinance of the City of Brooklyn. Ordinance 2019-18, amending section 147.02, positions of the codified ordinances of the City of Brooklyn. That concludes our agenda for this evening. Does the mayor, administration, any of the council members or directors have anything else they'd like to say?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
To adjourn, Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
As soon as our guests from the Board of Health arrive, we will begin the public safety meeting. Have a blessed evening and happy Easter, everyone.